The Stage Door Show, celebrating the independent artist. Hosted by Dave Hondel.
What's up, everybody? This is Craig Moreau. You're listening to The Stage Door Show with Dave Hondel.
Hey, everybody. This is Dave Hondel. Welcome to The Stage Door Show tonight. I have with me Craig Moreau, country recording artist out of New Hampshire. How you doing, Craig?
Good. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you. So, Craig, you're from New Hampshire, and I guess my first question is, I didn't know New Hampshire was a big country hotbed. So how did you get interested in being from New England, but being interested in country music? How did that all start?
That started when I was really young, man. I was like, like 2 or 3 years old. My mother would always be cleaning the house, and she had like George Jones and Loretta Lynn and Garth Brooks at the time was huge. And she would always have that stuff playing in the background. And ever since I was little, I was always like mimicking these artists like Garth Brooks and Travis Tritt, like their mannerisms and trying to sing like them. And I'd always be like in the center of the living room at family parties, just singing along to these people. So that's where the country music part really impacted me, is from my mother's taste in music.
So when you were growing up, I mean, when did you know that you really wanted to be a musician, and when did that kind of take hold?
I kind of always knew that, like deep down. But as I got older, I grew up in a broken home, so my parents split when I was 8, and that kind of left a big void, I would say, in me. And I was kind of on this journey of finding myself, and it took me down this road that was filled with like heavy drug and alcohol addiction, and I got into the revolving door of like institutions and jails and prison, and the music was always like a big part of my life, but it seemed like every time I made a few steps in the right direction toward trying to make a career out of it, the demons just came in and took me back out. And it was when I was in prison that I really realized like that this is something that I gotta just chase, and I just gotta put all my ducks in a row and just go after it, because I had a lot of time to think and to self-reflect. So I'm very thankful that my journey led me there, because I was able to like finally iron out all the stuff that I needed to, that kind of was standing in the way of me in this music career.
So when you came out and you were able to self-reflect, did that help you write music? I mean, was that kind of an influence in some of the words in your songs?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wrote I wrote Whiskey Tears and Marble Memory in prison. I wrote Another Night while I was in prison, and then a couple other ones that are not released yet I wrote in prison. So it definitely brought me back into my songwriting.
We'll talk about Another Night, when that was one of the songs that you wrote, you said, when you were incarcerated. So talk about that song and really where the influence came from that, and some of the words, and how did that come about, that song? Well,
I had a lot of time to reflect on like my past relationships, and I never really had a healthy one up until that point, if I'm being honest. And which again I'm thankful for, because it makes for great songwriting. So I try to always incorporate a piece of me into my songs, in hopes to like help others just relate to it, maybe help them get through a tough time, just like my favorite artist's music does for me. And I was sitting there and I was just thinking about, it just kind of hit me. It came to me like, there's times where, you're trying so hard to get over somebody, and it's like no matter what you do and no matter what the new person does, like you're always just drawn back to, a memory of the one that you're still in love with, that you're trying to get over.
It's another night of pretending, another night spent wishing we weren't through, and as long as I'm standing, I'm still in trying to make it another round, another night.
And I kind of just painted a picture from there and used, personal experiences to kind of mold the song together.
And then another one I enjoy a lot, and I know that you're getting some good plays on it on Spotify, but Sounds Like Thunder. Talk about that song, and where did the inspiration for that one come?
That one's one of my favorites, man. That song just kicks it up to 10 as soon as it starts. That banjo riff's killer, and that was one of those songs, man. If anyone who's a songwriter out there don't know what I'm talking about, that was one of those songs that kind of just wrote itself. I was out on the back porch one day, and a storm was coming in, and I smelled the rain coming, and I was like, man, it's amazing how just a scent of something or dropping the temperature, how your mind can just be transported back to a certain memory or a certain feeling or a certain point in time just by for me in that moment it was just smelling the rain.
Well, it was just her and me out there on the beach, flip-flops and a hair pulled back, cut off shorts and a hoodie in black, looking for something to do. She told me she didn't have a clue, but just then the clouds rolled near and I said, I think the storm is here. She looked at me with her big brown eyes and smiled, and I knew then that we'd be here for a little while. Well, it smells like rain, it sounds like thunder, feel the lightning in one another, hear the rain ringing on the tin.
And I was like, man, and then I kind of incorporated all the 5 senses into that song. So it smells like rain, it sounds like thunder, you feel the lightning in one another, hear the rain knocking on a tin roof. I try to incorporate all of the senses and kind of put it into an emotion, into the story of the song. But it was I think I was done that thing in 20 minutes, front to back. It just kind of, like I said, just wrote itself. It was just one of those songs that just poured out of me.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to a lot of musicians, and sometimes that does happen in the process, of writing music, because I always ask musicians if you write the words first or the music first or the melody, and I get different answers. Obviously, everybody has a different process, but when that hits you, I guess it just hits you, and you don't want to lose that opportunity. Some people are sleeping and they wake up in the middle of the night. They have to write a song because whatever they were dreaming is a perfect song. So it sounds like it's one of those moments where you're sitting on the porch and it just comes to you.
Yeah, man, and I completely agree with you. And it's one of those things that you just don't want to miss the opportunity. And I'm definitely waking up in the middle of the night and just started scribbling stuff down because I just dreamt it, or I heard the melody in my head, or whatever the case may be. But you definitely don't want to hold on to it, because there's been times where I've been stuck on a song and it took me 2 or 3 years to finish, where just pieces come to you every now and then you're like, oh, okay, that's good for this song. And I don't know, man, that the music's just weird like that, especially how creative it is. It's sometimes you have a lot to say, and then sometimes you have a lot to say but can't really find the words to it. And me, I'm kind of like a perfectionist, and a lot of times I'll end up getting I'll drive myself into writer's block because I'm just trying so hard to finish this one song because I love the concept and I love the message it has. But the way it is, you kind of just have to let it flow out of you. And if it's not flowing, you kind of got to put it down and work on something else and come back to it when the creativity is back. And that took a while for me to learn that it's all right to just put it down for a second or for a couple months even, and just revisit it once the inspiration comes back. Because I feel like music is something that it's such a creative process, and it's such a gift that it kind of just has to flow. And if you have to force it, it's usually not really passionate. I like to try and keep the passion and the realness in my music.
I think one of the biggest things that I notice about music is that it really does affect and change people. And is it safe to say that helped you, being a songwriter and a singer? Did that help you along in your difficult path? You're not even that old. I mean, I think you're 30 years old, and that's not very old. But did that help? Did that help you in that process? Basically, kind of lead those demons behind.
Yeah, man. It was crazy because music was always that missing piece. So I'd always go to that for like therapeutic reasons too, you know, like there was just certain songs that, you know, you can just relate to. And that's what I love about country music specifically, is just like the stories and the realness in it. And that's why I'm always drawn to like the 90s and earlier country, because of the realness in it. Like a lot of the pop stuff now is kind of just centered around, you know, pickup trucks, campfires, and cut off jeans, you know what I'm saying? And the stuff's catchy, but like me personally, that stuff just doesn't chew well in my mouth. I love the rawness and the passion and things like that. So, but like I said, with the Demons, I kind of like, I almost like forgot I had that outlet, and I forgot I was able to like express myself through song for like a long time. And like I said, once I was in prison and I kind of had like an epiphany. I was like, wait a minute, I have this tool, I have this gift that I've been suppressing for so long, and it's like it's time to like, you know, dig it up and start using it. And that's what I did.
Yeah, I mean, you know, speaking of gift, you definitely have a gift, and you're very talented, and I enjoy the music that I was listening to. And you know, which kind of brings me to my next topic here is you have your own podcast about positivity, and it's called No Turning Back 365. And you know, talk to our listeners about your podcast and how they can find your podcast and really what it's about.
Well, my wife and I have been through our share of struggles before we got together. And one of the ways we look at life, man, is just like just serving others. And then if you believe in a higher power, then serving the higher power as well. And I think one of the ways we try to do that is just kind of spreading positivity. And we both believe that everything happens for a reason, and that life happens for us, not to us. So what this podcast is it kind of shares our stories and our journeys through, you know, self-love, healing resentment, relationships, spirituality, meditation, all these things that we had to go through, we had to let go of, we had to heal from, how we did it, how the listeners can do it for themselves too. It's almost like a journey of total self-transformation, and the goal is to have people follow this journey and just become a version of themselves that they either thought they couldn't be or they always wanted to be but never knew how to be, because that's what people did for us. So we feel like passing that on and trying to spread that to others is the goal.
That's incredible. So what you said, something that hit me, and I wrote it down because I love it. You said life happens for us, not to us. I thought I'd never heard that, but it's very powerful, that those words. So, you know, those I think that our listeners, you know, that's a very powerful statement. And I also, you know, what you guys do in this podcast, I think is very positive, and there's a lot of people out there that I think can really benefit from it. So again, No Turning Back 365. Where can people hear that?
That's on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, anywhere, yeah, any main platform.
That's awesome. So everybody out there listening, check that out for sure. Also, I want to talk about the song "Where Do We Go From Here." You know, talk about the process of writing that one, and because I really enjoyed that one as well when I listened to it on Spotify.
Thank you. Yeah, that was another one that came from personal experience. Like I said, I had a lot of rocky and unhealthy relationships, and that song's just about hitting that fork in the road where you're like, all right, well, where do we go from here? Is it like, should I just leave and act like I didn't lose anything, or should we like stay and try and fix this? It's like kind of like that turning point in a relationship where it's like, all right, this hasn't been going well. Is this like we have to pick up and move on, or is there something here to salvage? And you know, that's kind of like a melody that I actually like woke up from sleeping and had in my head.
Can't seem to find a way to make it in. Still can't believe we're doing this again. And it just seems to raise a couple of questions. Like, where do we go from here? What's our next move? Should I be walking away like I've got nothing to lose? Can we bring back the love instead of bringing on more tears? Darling, tell me, where do we
I just kept saying, where do we go from here? I just had the words and the melody in my head, and I kind of wrote the chorus like half asleep. And then when I woke up the next day, I was able to finish the first verse. And then I think it took me like a month to really that was one of those that I put down. And then one day that second verse just came like start to finish. And I was like, all right, awesome. So that's what I'm saying, man. That's the thing about music, at least for me in my songs. It's like they either happen right away or they come to me in pieces, or it's just, I kind of just have to trust the process. And if it's there, I jump on the opportunity.
How do you use social media to help push your music and your brand? I mean, how do you, now that social media is so big, Instagram and all the other avenues, how do you use that to your benefit, I guess? Because, being an independent artist, it's almost a necessity to use social media. So how do you use it?
Well, I just use you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Craig Moreau Music. And I kind of just try and use it to give people an insight to what I'm about. My Instagram gives the best for that because, the availability of the story highlights and things like that. And I kind of just try and give people an insight on what I'm up to day to day, stuff that I support and that I believe in. And, kind of just give people a little taste of like who I am, what I'm about. And again, it's a great, like you said, it's a great platform for marketing, especially for independent artists. So I try and, I got a couple music videos up on YouTube. I just try and use that to get across to people who may not know who I am and what I'm about. And then for those who do, I feel like I have a great support already by fans, that kind of share the stuff also. So it's all about just diving in, putting yourself out there. And if you see opportunities, just take it.
Do you find that with the COVID-19 quarantine that we're all kind of obviously kind of starting to get out of right now, things are opening up a little bit, are you finding that there's going to be opportunity to perform live, or are we still kind of in that recording mode? And I think you have something coming out in a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, I have an album called Under the Covers coming out in a couple weeks. This is a concept album. What I did was I took artists or genres that had the biggest impact on me, and it's all cover songs. So my music taste is very eclectic, and my musical influences spans over many genres because, like I mentioned earlier, my mother was big into the country and Elvis and George Jones and these people, but my father was more like the singer-songwriters like James Taylor, Bob Seger, Bryan Adams, and like the hair metal bands, Skid Row, Bon Jovi, Journey, and all of these different styles. And because even those artists, like in the same genre of music, still have a different way of like performing their craft. So I mean, I have artists on there like Bon Jovi, Tracy Chapman, Dobie Gray, Travis Tritt, Night Ranger. I mean, there's something on there for everybody, and the whole purpose behind this album was to kind of give people an insight, again, to who I am, what my influences were, but also showcase my versatility as a vocalist because, like I mentioned, all of these artists are very different in how they approach their music, and I kind of just put my spin on it, and hopefully everybody enjoys it.
Are venues opening up to musicians? Are there going to be opportunities for you to perform, or is that still a ways away?
No, man, I'm looking to start performing live again. In this area, they're kind of opening up little by little, and I think they're only giving certain artists opportunities. I think that it's like a loyalty thing where people who've been playing for them, the longest, I think, have first dibs on that. But after this album is released and the promos for that are taken care of, then I'll be writing for an original album and hopefully start playing live.
Do you find being in New England, does that because I mean, it's a big music area. I know that New England's big for music, but as far as country music, is it challenging to be a country music recording artist in New Hampshire? I mean, is that something that's kind of geared more towards Nashville, or do you find that you can put your footprint there, being a country artist, being that it's not, the typical country market?
Yeah, it's definitely not the typical country market, and I'm not really the typical country artist either, given my influences. And like I said, the pop country's starting to get some notoriety and some favorability anywhere, especially in this area. So when people find out I'm a country artist, they're like, all right, they're acceptable to it. But I think what makes me unique is bringing in those different styles of influences. And I think that's how I'll make my mark, is because the music's not like what's out there already. It's kind of taking what has already been out and revamping it my way, and hopefully that makes an impact.
No, I mean it's definitely unique, and it's I really enjoyed the music when I listened to your work. So definitely keep up the good work, and anything we could do here at the Stage Door Show to help you push it out, let me know, and you're always welcome on my show. So I want to tell everybody again, your social media is at Craig Moreau Music, CraigMoreau Music. You can hit them up on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Anyway, so again, thank you for being on my show, Craig. I really enjoyed your music, and good luck to you, best of luck to you, and in the future. And like I said, anything we can push out for you, don't hesitate to let us know.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me.